You don't need to ride every day to build a good cycling habit, but you do need to have something a little bit more robust than saying to yourself, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. Turns out there's a much cleverer way to do it, and no, it doesn't involve selling your house and moving to Mallorca. If building a consistent cycling habit was easy, then your bike wouldn't currently be hiding under a pile of coats like it's in witness protection. On the surface of it, questions like how often should I ride seem fairly simple and straightforward, but that is of course until your mind turns it into a full-blown crisis and starts asking questions like, what if I'm not riding hard enough? What if I'm riding too hard? What if it rains? Or what if I just want to sit around in my boxer shorts and eat toast? Well, today I'm going to cut through the confusion, the guilt, the pithy Instagram motivational quotes, and show you how to build a cycling habit that fits in with your life, doesn't require monk-like discipline, and doesn't fall apart when real life kicks in. Okay, let's imagine that you've just watched an episode of Bake Off and some clever person has made the most elegant of birthday cakes. And you think to yourself, yeah, that looked easy. I can bake one of those for my wife and she'll love me forever. So you go off into the kitchen and yeah, there's the wrong type of flour and the oven's beeping at you like it's trying to send a message in Morse code. And the next thing you know is that you're down at your local Asda's eyeing up Colin the Caterpillar for the 5th year in a trot. Well, that, boys and girls, is how motivation works. It feels good at first, but the moment reality kicks in, it slaps you hard on the arse with a spatula. Cycling motivation works in pretty much the same way. We're always sitting around waiting for sunny days, motivational playlists and that sudden burst of energy, but the moment we have a bad night's sleep or the weather's not right, then bang, the plans for the big ride suddenly fizzle out quicker than Chesney Hawkes' music career. The solution here is not to rely so much on motivation, but instead try to build yourself some kind of structure. You need to set ride days like appointments and block them into your schedule as seriously as you would, say, a checkup at the doctor's or the dentist's. It's also a good idea to start relatively small. So instead of saying to yourself that you're going to go out and ride 40 kilometers 3 or 4 times a week, just say that you're going to ride your bike every single Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Because 10 minutes still counts and it's going to be a lot better than no ride at all. Remember, you're not training to ride the Tour, you're just trying to turn up. And that is habit gold. If you've been finding it harder to get out on the bike recently, then you're not alone. But the good news is that it's usually easier to fix than you think. If this sounds like you, then I can help. You can book your own personal one-to-one call with me and we can go through what's holding you back and put together a plan to get you back on the bike as soon as possible. If this is something that you're interested in, then just click on the link and book your call. Okay, now for a moment, let's imagine that you run a little garage. You're honest, you do a good job, and you charge reasonable prices. As a result, you've got a loyal client base and you're earning a modest income. But then suddenly, for no reason, you decide to double your prices and start replacing perfectly good brake pads. What do you think's going to happen? Yeah, congratulations, you've just killed the goose that lays the golden eggs. And cycling habits work in very much the same way. The quickest way to destroy them is to overdo them. How familiar does this sound? You get all excited and go out and smash 4 hard rides in a week and then nothing. Your legs feel like sausages, Work piles up, you miss a week, then two, and before you know it, it's Christmas and your bike is covered in dust. So what's the solution? Well, I would suggest giving yourself some sort of margin and maybe going out and doing, say, 2 or 3 easy rides a week, and that's it. Think of it as base training, not just for your legs, but for your consistency muscle. Remember, you're not trying to ride like a pro. You're just trying to be someone that still rides their bike when summer rolls around. Here's a trap that many of us fall into. If we miss a ride, then we start thinking that we've failed. And heavens forbid, if we miss 2 weeks of cycling, then we start thinking, yeah, I might as well start all over again next month. Well, this is how dreams quietly go off and die, and they're buried right next to that fancy, unused pasta machine you bought. But real habits, they're not so much streaks, they're more like resets. So if you have missed a day off the bike, then go out and ride tomorrow. If you've taken time off, yeah, perfectly normal. Go out and ride today and start rebuilding from today. Remember, habits are not tests that you fail. They're relationships, sometimes awkward, frequently challenging, but ultimately always worth returning to. Apparently, one of the biggest predictors of habit success is whether the behaviour feels easy or not. And that in turn raises the question, what makes the ride feel easier? Well, of course, it's going to be things like fitness, but I would also suggest it's having everything else in place as well. So for instance, having your kit all laid out, having a go-to route so that you don't have to worry about where you're cycling, knowing where your helmet is, and of course having things like your lights and your cycling computer fully charged and ready to go. Basically anything that's going to stop you having that morning scavenger hunt and turning your ride into the crystal maze from hell. Also, you might want to reward yourself, so I'm not necessarily saying that you should go and have a cafe stop and a slice of cake halfway round, but yeah, I'm also not suggesting it either. Last winter, I didn't ride my bike for about 3 weeks on the trot, and I convinced myself that I was completely lazy. Turns out that my iron levels were pretty low and I was just feeling constantly exhausted. So it wasn't laziness, it was biology. And this just goes to show that we love blaming ourselves. I'm useless, I can't stick to anything. When more often than not, it's other things. It's life, it's work stress, it's hormones, it's the kids, it's the soggy, damp British weather. What you need here is a mindset shift. So instead of beating yourself up with guilt, try using curiosity instead. Don't ask questions like, why am I so useless? But ask questions like, what can I do to change this? Because questions like that very often lead to solutions. Remember, you're not broken, you're just in a slump. And slumps pass, especially when you're kind to yourself. Building a cycling habit doesn't mean that you have to ride every day. It doesn't mean that you have to be perfect, and it certainly doesn't mean that you have to feel guilty every time life gets in the way. It means turning up. It means being consistent. It means treating your habit like a mate that you actually want to spend time with rather than some evil boot camp instructor. You have everything you need to make cycling part of your life again. So start small, stay curious, and most importantly, cut yourself some slack. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.